Welcome, dear viewers, to another episode of B-Movie Enema, the series. I'm Jeff Arbuckle, your favorite enema man. That over there is my trusty partner, the saddle to my bags, Nurse Disembaudee. Nurse, how's it going?
Doing pretty... Wait, the saddle to your bags?
Uh-huh.
Why do I feel like I suddenly need to take a shower?
Well, hey, it sounded pretty good to me.
If you say so.
Now, I put it in those terms because we've got ourselves a Western for this week's movie. Nurse, if I were to mention the genre of Western, what do you think about?
Cowboys, horses, maybe some Indians, definitely lawmen.
Well, aside from the horses, this movie doesn't really have any of that.
What about outlaws and hired guns?
Oh, those we've got.
Well, I'll take it.
Now, what we have here is not the typical American Western, but honestly, the genre of the Western is about as truly American as jazz, apple pie, and, capitalism. The American Film Institute defines the genre as being set in the American West that embodies the spirit, the struggle, and ultimately the demise of the new frontier. This period of the American frontier, in terms of American history in general, is the period that roughly begins with the American Gold Rush that started around 1849 and ends with closing of the frontier in 1890. This is the era of the settling of the frontier, the wars with Native Americans, the expansion of the border of the United States, and a lot of post-Civil War movement of vets and freed slaves. Now, I'm positive there's much to speak about in terms of history, but let's focus specifically on how the Western became the genre of the American film for a long, long time. Honestly, the genre gets its roots in the Old West shows that started in the 1870s. These were traveling shows that had a little bit of a stage thing with skits and scripted drama along with shooting exhibitions, and these are like your tricks and your sharpshooting people and such. Now, as film began to make its way across the continent in the mid-1890s, it was only natural for some of these types of dramas that would be part of the Wild West shows to make their way into shorts and silent films. Back then, the films of the genre would be called Wild West dramas, but then eventually everyone just called them Westerns. Right away, Westerns were popular in the silent era. From 1894 to 1927, Westerns were not just a popular type of film made by the Americans, but it wasn't uncommon that some of these were made by British filmmakers as well. This included the earliest known film of the genre, Kidnapping by Indians. The 30s continued the popularity of the genre. However, it was a little more of a pulp genre. These would be cheaply made and easily digestible. Maybe it's possible to say the Western and the scare films that were like anti-drug and anti-debauchery in the pre-code era, your Reefer Madnesses and so on, well, they could really be the 30s form of exploitation films between those and the Western. Now, the 30s also brought John Wayne and John Ford to the genre.
The Duke!
That's right, the old man superhero himself. Now, the golden age of the genre came between 1940 and 1970, though some would say that golden age ended in the earlier part of the 60s, and I think that's debatable. What is not debatable is this is the era of the greatest Westerns of the greatest Western directors. This is where John Ford was making the movies, the biggest movies in the genre with the biggest of stars. Of course, John Wayne. You also had Henry Fonda and James Stewart. But you also have Howard Hawks, who made Red River, Rio Bravo, and El Dorado, all starring John Wayne. And you also have William Wyler and the Westerner with Gary Cooper, and The Big Country with Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston. And speaking of Gary Cooper, you have Fred Zinnemann's masterpiece, High Noon, which won Cooper the Oscar for Best Actor. And that was the era that the Western was tops. In fact, Nurse, when you mentioned earlier, as far as what you would think of when you hear the word Western in terms of the genre, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Cowboys and Indians, lawmen and outlaws, and showdowns and gun duels.
Exactly. In fact, if you can think of any Western made before the last 25 or 30 years, they are likely from that golden age. Quick, think of a Western from that era that I didn't mention previously.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Ding, 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 ding. Now also, bonus points for providing me an excellent segue.
You're very welcome, Geoff. That's what I'm here for. Sometimes.
Hey, indeed. Our movie this week is Gunman of Ave Maria. Although it goes by a couple of other titles, maybe more commonly it's called The Forgotten Pistolero, but its original name in Italian is Il Pistolero dell'Ave Maria, which literally translates to The Gunman of Hail Mary or Gunman of Ave Maria. Now, Nurse, notice that I said this movie's original title was something else, and then I kind of started speaking a super smarty pants way that sounded Italian.
Yeah?
Well, this comes from Italy and the director, Ferdinando Baldi, and we'll talk more about him and the people in this film a little bit later, but we need to talk about the spaghetti western.
Now that you've said that out loud, it does sound like a hotel chain that's also a pasta restaurant.
What?
Yeah, like a hotel that has the bellhops bring each room a big pile of spaghetti. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do want to go there.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I do too.
Yeah.
Anyway, the spaghetti western came during the middle part of the 60s, and this was mostly due to the Sergio Leone style of filmmaking and his westerns A Fistful of Dollars in 1964, For a Few Dollars More in 1965, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in 1966, all hitting huge in international markets, and most importantly, in the United States. Now, each of his films was made in Italy with Americans in lead roles, particularly Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, and later names like Charles Bronson, Henry Fonda, Jason Robards, Rod Steiger, and James Coburn. These were all people who were attainable for work in Europe, but all also were known for being in westerns. The term spaghetti western was supposedly coined by a journalist from Spain named Alfonso Sanchez. Now, obviously, it is in reference to the famous Italian food, right? But what else is a famous pasta?
Macaroni?
Yes, in Japan, they're actually called macaroni westerns. Anyway, like many Italian genres that hit big, spaghetti westerns kept going strong for about 10 or 12 years. I'm sure, like with the American western genre, there are movies that continued on past the prime, and also have more modern movies that take some of the same themes and such to create like neo-westerns and neo-spaghetti westerns and so forth. But the genre has some serious fans. I mean, there are whole subcultures of film fans who dearly love spaghetti westerns and all the different films and characters. There are festivals, revivals, documentaries, and more heavily centered on this particular form of westerns. So famous and famous directors made spaghetti westerns as well. Not only do you have Leone and this film director Ferdinando Baldi, but you also have the likes of Mario Bava, Alberto Di Martino, Lucio Fulci, and Sergio Corbucci, who made the original Django film. Even Tinto Brass has made a spaghetti western, and before directing his own films, Dario Argento provided the script to Today We Kill, Tomorrow We Die, and came up with the story, along with Bernardo Bertolucci for Once Upon a Time in the West, which is one of the greatest of all spaghetti westerns. So, this genre has a definite pedigree.
I'm pretty excited for this Gunman from Ave Maria.
All right, excellent. Well, we'll come back and talk about Ferdinando Baldi and the people in this film in future segments, but let's dive in and watch this classic 1969 spaghetti western.
told not to kill him.
I hit him in the leg.
Then he is playing games, Pepito?
Bastardos!
Go tell your mistress to stop sending pistoleros searching for me as if she doesn't value their hides. And don't let me see you again. Otherwise, Miguel, I'll blow your brains out. Now get back on your horse!
Who are you?
I need water. Need water. Please.
You're hungry, huh?
Yes, I haven't eaten anything since I left Oaxaca. I would like it living here. Some bandits, they attacked me, and my horse is very tired. I was headed towards...
I don't want to know. Relax, stranger. It's only my cow. She's hungry. My mother. What's your name?
Raphael.
Let me have a look at that wrist of yours. Here, put this in your mouth and bite down hard.
You've had this spread here a while, huh?
About 12 years.
Been places before.
All over. My mother and me used to wander from one place to another. That better?
Gracias, Sebastian.
How do you know my name?
You see, I once knew a man who looked like you. His name was Sebastian. You want, I'll tell you his story tomorrow.
You can sleep here. I'll be upstairs. Well, good night. Raphael! Raphael! Raphael!
Tequila.
Mr. Stanton, come on, get up. It's time to go home. But I only just Don't make trouble, Mr. Stanton. Just get out of here.
Just another drink. Believe me, you are lucky I have to take you back alive, amigo. Facing me again, amigo. So why do you not shoot my brains out like you said you would? Get him out of here.
Put him down.
Now get out. Kill him, Sebastian, or he'll kill you. Don't you see that?
Get out of here. Now, what about my horse?
It was a good exchange. Mine was tired. I didn't want to complicate everything. I didn't want to cause you trouble.
You still haven't told me that story. Let's go.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Nothing. Put this on it. It's snake grease. My mother made it.
She wasn't your mother at all. Your real mother lives in Oaxaca with the man who killed your father. Your father fought in the war. He came back to the hacienda in '66.
The patron is coming! Tell the senora! The patron is back! Antonio! Miguel! Juanita! Tell the senora!
Buenos dias, senora. I have just seen him as he was arriving at the Plaza de Oaxaca.
Well, this is certainly a happy day for us. And to welcome my husband, let us hold the fiesta.
There. Now put the other arm in. That's it. Your father will hardly recognize his children. Isabella is already a pretty senorita, and he'll think you're quite grown up, Sebastian.
Raphael says you have evil powers and cast spells.
Your father is going to be so proud of you. My angel.
Raphael, come here.
Stay here and don't move.
Sebastian, I've waited so long for this. Isabella. I didn't dream my daughter was so pretty. Maria.
Juan, welcome to your home.
Anna. How often I thought of this moment.
Your men are having fun.
They fought well. They deserve it. Anna, will you hand me my shirt, please? Gracias. And my coat.
I can't find it, Juan.
Well, it's strange. It was on the chair, wasn't it? Anna! No! No! Sebastian! Sebastian!
Sebastian! Sebastian! Wake up! Hurry, Sebastian! Get up quickly! Hurry now! Oh, Sebastian!
Get away with the men. And every chance you have, you can spread the word that it was the French who raided the hacienda.
Very well.
Anna.
What happened to the children? They were in here asleep. Thomas, where are they?
They're probably hiding. We'll find them.
Oh, Thomas, it was terrible.
Everything went as we had planned it.
Ooh, some flashback family drama.
Yes, indeed. Now, Gunman of Ave Maria begins with our forgotten pistolero, Raphael, being tracked down by some bounty hunters. He easily rids himself of half of his problems, but doesn't get away unscathed. He makes his way to a lonely ranch in the middle of nowhere owned by Sebastian. It's someone he knows, but Sebastian has seemingly forgotten our pistolero, Raphael.
It's a good thing that Raphael is ready to refresh his old friend's memory.
That's right. He tells the story of Sebastian and his sister Isabella celebrating the return of their father, Juan, from a war that has finally finished many years before the start of this movie. It turns out that while Juan was away, the kid's mother, Anna, took a lover in the form of Tomas. Now, the two lovers hatch a plan to kill Juan and all his loyal men, so I assume for them, to take the general's wealth and status. But Sebastian was spirited away while Raphael was also scattered to the wind. However, Raphael has not been as far away from the Carrasco family as we thought. We'll learn how he stayed in contact with Isabella later. Now, the film was made by Ferdinando Baldi. Baldi's career began in the first half of the 50s with the 1953 drama El Preso dell'Onore. And he worked on a couple more films in the 50s before coming on as an uncredited historical advisor on 1959's Ben-Hur. His next two films in 1960 and 1961, David and Goliath and the Tartars, both starred Orson Welles. Now, early on, Baldi seemed very interested in making historical epics and dramas. He made Taras Bulba, the Cossack, which, interestingly enough, received a 1970 American release with the name, the Tartars. Now that seems pretty interesting, doesn't it? He has two separate listings on his filmography with the same title in different years, The Tartars and The Tartars.
Are they the same movie?
They are not, and I'll explain the difference to you. The 1961 film starring Orson Welles and Victor Mature was a sword and sandal type flick set in much older times, dealing with Vikings, Tartars, and Slavs. The later film, which came out in 1962, originally called Taras Bulba, the Cossack, takes place in the 17th century and based on a classic 1835 novella. So yeah, in the earlier part of his career, those two Tartars films seem to nicely describe Baldi's career. He had his historical epics like Taras Bulba and Massacre in the Black Forest. He had films dealing with Roman times that are maybe a little bit better described as sword and sandal films like David and Goliath, Duel of Champions, and In the Shadow of Eagles. But then, in the mid-60s, he's transitioned to spaghetti westerns. This started with 1966's Texas Adios, starring Franco Nero, and is often discussed in connection to the loose Django series. That's not even mentioning the unofficial sequel Baldi did make called Django Prepare a Coffin.
I'm looking at the history of the Django series. Gosh, how do you keep them all straight?
Yeah, no doubt. There are like 30 films that can be called unofficial sequels to Django. It's almost an entire subgenre of the subgenre that is the spaghetti western. But Baldi's spaghetti westerns include 1968's Hate Thy Neighbor, 1969's Bootleggers, and 1971's Blind Man, which starred Ringo Starr, and then 1974's Carambola, which is actually a western about a billiards player, and had a sequel just a year later. Now, Nurse, some of those titles are great. Hate Thy Neighbor sounds kind of awesome as a title, doesn't it?
I feel like there has to be a spaghetti western called Thou Shalt Not Kill, or Do Not Covet Your Neighbor's Wife's Jewels, or False Idols.
Oh, any of those would be great titles for spaghetti westerns. But in 1967, Baldi made his most interesting of his spaghetti westerns. He directed pop star Rita Pavone in a Western musical called Rita of the West. Now, Rita Pavone was this tiny pixie of a singer, but she had this big voice and seemed to have a lot of energy. In that, she co-starred with Terence Hill, who was one of the biggest stars in Italian cinema of that era. His biggest successes were the Trinity films, one of which, Trinity Is Still My Name, is still the highest grossing Italian film in history. But back to Baldi, he even made a Eurospy film right as the James Bond knockoff craze was kicking off. That one would be Suicide Mission to Singapore, starring Stelio Candelli as American agent Kurt Jackson. It was so important the James Bond-esque films were getting cranked out that this was a co-production by Spain, France, and Italy. But into the 70s, Baldi moved over to the Italian crime films that became popular at the time. These included 1972's The Sicilian Connection and Long Lasting Days in 1973. You'd probably be unsurprised by the fact that he made a giallo film in 1977 with 9 Guests for a Crime, and made silly action films in the 80s like Treasure of the Four Crowns, Warbus, and Tin Zan: The Ultimate Mission. Oh, Nurse, speaking of fun titles for westerns, in 1981 he made the film Coming At Ya.
Gah! Wait, what?
Coming At Ya.
Why are you threatening to throw stuff at me?
No, that's the name of the movie. Coming At Ya.
Stop saying that.
Why? That's the title. Coming At Ya.
Jeez, why is it called that?
Because it was a 3D Western.
Oh, I guess that makes some wait, a 3D Western?
Yeah, don't ask me exactly how that worked out, but what it looked like or why not every Western is in 3D. I don't have any answers for you on that one. But let's get back into the movie. The story of the Carrasco family drama is now known to us, so let's get back to Raphael and Sebastian reestablishing their bond and friendship in Gunman of Ave Maria.
And now your mother and Thomas, they don't see each other too much. Sebastian, don't you know me? We used to play games together. I'm Raphael, Sebastian. You and I, we were friends.
My sister?
She lives in Oaxaca. I was in love with her. And to keep her from me, they forced her to marry a storekeeper. I turned Mexico inside out trying to find you. I'd been hunted like a prairie dog. Then when I realized it was you in that cabin, I didn't have the courage to explain. And I am sorry now I did find you.
You afraid?
A little afraid.
If you know who killed my father, why haven't they killed you?
That is another story.
You can pay me back later. We'll split up across the border. Oaxaca's a long way off. You might need another horse.
I'll expect you in Juarez by tomorrow.
Vanity, vanity, all is vanity, saith the preacher. What profiteth a man? That generation goes and another comes. And the earth, goes on forever, yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley.
Here, help me.
Who shot him? I don't know.
Don't be a hero.
No, I'll tell you, wait. I never saw him before. Too young, and he rode off into the hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
My pleasure,
The
Senora.
next dance will be your reward.
It will be an honor.
I assure you all the girls will be looking at me with envy.
I am truly fortunate, Senora.
Excuse me. Do you have any news?
Si, Senora.
Follow me.
What are you doing here?
I'm waiting for...
Get out.
You should not have come back. It's the last time I'll tell you. Bring me Raphael alive. Otherwise, your life is worth nothing.
I understand, Senora. I will personally bring you the both of them.
Both?
Si, Senora. The one who killed Chico was not Raphael.
Find him, Francisco. Take all the men you need. I don't care what you have to do. But find him.
Your caprices have already cost us too much, Anna. And now it's enough. You get out. Anna. If we had not let the wretch live years ago, we would be free now.
No more bloodshed, Thomas. Ever again.
It's not any remorse that torments you. Of that you would be incapable. You are afraid, Anna. Yes, fear has caused this vendetta.
It's nothing to do with you. And you'd never understand.
You know, you didn't talk like that at one time. It's easy to surmise, although I never thought it could happen, that you used me only to kill your husband. You're nothing but a cheap prostitute, Anna. Be careful, Anna. Don't try to push me.
Isabella. It is time to go now. Isabella? It is very late, and you look tired. Please? Come on.
Amigo, you have the prettiest wife in the village, you know.
She is wasting her husband like you. She is a man's woman.
What do you want?
Nothing, friend. It appears Raphael is riding this way. And if he reaches here, it is very possible that you will see him before we do. In which case, you will tell me where he is. I'd call that a wise thing to do. You understand? Vámonos!
Isabella.
What are you going to do?
Isabella, I would like to move away. Maybe we can find peace somewhere away from Oaxaca. Isabella, you are married to me. I know it was not meant to be like that. And forgive me for not having had the strength to refuse. But I hope that you would learn to love me. I have tried to make you happy all these years. Please, Isabella, maybe away from here.
Ignacio, I'm sorry. You see, while the murderer of my father's here, I cannot leave this place.
Sebastian! Hey, I use your money to buy me a horse. Hey, amigo, what do you think about these, huh? I got it with what was left over.
Hey, you don't look bad at all.
I thought you might need some more water, senor. My name is Elisa. If you ever want anything at all, I'll be around. And so if you get lonely tonight, it would be a pleasure for me to keep you company. You will remember my name, senor. It
Yeah?
gets very cold at night.
Elisa, go and ask the owner if he has another room free for me.
Oh, of course, senor. There's one right next to mine.
What's wrong, Raphael?
I'm gonna take a walk.
Buenas noches, senor. Bienvenidos a Juarez. Have you seen my blankets? They come from the mountains of Peru. It is the best llama skin, hand-woven by virgins and blessed in the grotto of the Madonna of Guadalupe. Once you touch it, you will not want to put it down, senor. Hey, senor.
It is very hot in here. Buy me a drink, amigo.
Order, I'll take care of it.
Would you like me, no?
Take much care, senor. He is upstairs. Third room to the left. Gracias, senor. Muchas gracias.
Hey, wake up, senor. It is late.
Why can't you stay a while longer?
I cannot. I heard noises outside. And I should not even be here.
Put him on his horse. Ándale.
You're welcome here, Anna. You look well.
Help me, Father, help me.
Calm yourself, my daughter, and tell me, what is wrong?
Sebastian is alive. He's coming back. Raphael, the servant who was in love with Isabella. When we knew that she loved him, Thomas punished him atrociously. I saved his life. I couldn't stand any more bloodshed in the house.
Continue, Anna.
Raphael's been looking for Sebastian for years. And now he's found him.
How can you know that?
I feel it. One day he will cross the threshold of my house. He will call me. He will look for me. Isn't the hate of Isabella's enough? Oh, please. Help me to prevent his hate, for God's sake.
In 2 days, it will be the anniversary of the death of your husband. Is that not true?
Yes.
I will pray for his memory. And I will ask our Lord for his help and his mercy, so that the peace of God will help you to be filled with love. That is all I can do.
Thank you, Father.
All right, well, the family drama at the center of Gunman of Ave Maria continues to deepen.
Seems like a crappy mom, although I'm not so sure. Tomas is kind of coming in with some serious Giga Chad energy and looks.
I'm not sure I ever want to hear you say the term Giga Chad ever again.
Just calling it like I see it.
So, as we've seen, Raphael is not entirely as scattered to the wind as Sebastian was. He had a relationship with Sebastian's sister Isabella, but her mother, Anna, squashed that by making sure Isabella was married off to someone she had a better opinion of, Or, I suppose, at least didn't know the dirty laundry of her past.
Maybe if she didn't kill her husband, the father of her children, she wouldn't have to constantly keep Raphael and Isabella apart. In fact, she's working so hard to keep them apart, she's sending guns out to have Raphael killed. I'm thinking Anna is one of history's worst mothers.
Yeah, I can second that. Interestingly, Anna is played by the most internationally recognized actor in this entire film, Luciana Paluzzi. That might not be a name that you immediately recognize, but she appears in one of the biggest James Bond films to date, adjusted for inflation, Thunderball. In that, she was cast as Spectre villainess Fiona Volpe. She was the steamy redhead vixen that nearly got Sean Connery's Bond trapped in a no-win scenario. It's one of the rare times in the early days that you actually saw James Bond bleed when he gets shot in the back of the leg in a pretty intense action scene as he tries to escape her and her goons. By the way, she's very appropriately named in that movie.
Oh? How so?
Well, in Italian, the word Volpe means fox.
Ah, clever Bond movie women names.
Yes, indeed. She might not be Pussy Galore or Octopussy or Xenia Onatopp, but still, it's clever. She actually originally auditioned for the lead Bond girl role of Domino, but the producers went for a little bit more good-looking, or the good girl-looking, Claudine Auger. And by the way, she's my favorite Bond girl in terms of looks of all time, but sadly being in Thunderball kind of hurt Luciana Paluzzi in a serious Italian cinema sort of way. The role made her internationally famous, but when she returned to Italy to get back to making movies, many viewed Thunderball as an outlandish film. This then kind of hurt her prospects and made her feel that she wasn't taken as seriously as she felt she should have been. Still, she continued to work in international films, including The Green Slime. Sebastian is played by Leonard Mann, which is the stage name of Leonardo Manzella.
That's about the most Italian name I've ever heard.
Well, do I have a surprise for you?
Oh?
Leonard Mann is actually an American. This was his big break. He was cast because the producer of this film, Manolo Bolognini, was reminded of Franco Nero and Terence Hill when he saw his face, so he immediately placed him in Gunman of Ave Maria. This launched a 20-year career for Mann, in which he appeared in over 30 movies. He retired from show business in 1989 and became a social worker and therapist in the Los Angeles Unified School District. He also became a pretty vocal advocate for prison reform. Raphael was played by Peter Martell.
Okay, surely he's American.
Nope.
Canadian?
Nope. Again, he was born Pietro Martellanza in the northern Italy town of Bolzano.
So hard to pick the Americans and the Italians when you read the cast and crew in these movies.
Now, Martell was actually very close to becoming a fairly large star. He was chosen to be the lead in 1967's God Forgives, I Don't.
Another great title.
Oh, absolutely. But the day before shooting began, Martell broke his foot, and he was replaced by Terence Hill. Hill's co-star was Bud Spencer. Hill and Spencer would go on to be a great duo in Italian westerns and comedies, and in 1970, Martell was originally announced to co-star with George Eastman in They Call Me Trinity, but when the film was officially cast and filmed, they were replaced by, again, Hill and Spencer. Still, Martell was an established actor in the spaghetti western films from the mid-60s, and he had a career that spanned about 35 years before he passed away in February 2010 at the age of 71. Now, Alberto Di Mendoza plays Nurse Disembaudee's favorite, Tomas.
Ooh, call the fire department because we've got a real smoke show on our hands.
Now, Di Mendoza was born Alberto Manuel Rodriguez Gallego Gonzalez Di Mendoza in 1923. That's just the name that flows right off the tongue, but he was from Argentina, and that's where his acting career began at the age of 7. And he appeared in over 100 films in a nearly 80-year career. He died in 2011, just about 5 weeks shy of his 89th birthday, and he had a fairly significant role in the 1973 horror film Horror Express that co-starred Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Telly Savalas. The following year, he appeared in the 1974 film And Then There Were None, which was an all-star adaptation of Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians. In that, he appeared alongside Richard Attenborough, Elke Sommer, Gert Frobe, best known for being the titular villain in the James Bond blockbuster Goldfinger, Herbert Lom, Oliver Reed, Orson Welles, who was only heard as a voice on a tape, and Adolfo Celli, who played villainous Emilio Largo in Thunderball. Finally, playing Isabella is Pilar Velasquez.
Is it me, or does she have the most perfect part in the history of hair?
Right. Anyway, Velasquez is a stunningly beautiful actress from Madrid. She has over 50 credits on her IMDb page, with the most recent being 2006's The Good Voice, where she was still listed second in the cast. In her career, she was a pretty big star, all things considered. She had several credits leading up to this film. However, I can't help but to notice that she has a lot of eye-catching titles in her filmography, including a 1978 Emmanuel film, a 1975 film called Sensualidad, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which is just sensuality in English, and Naked Girl Murdered in the Park. But in 1975, she appeared in the film Striptease, starring Terrence Stamp, Corinne Cleary, who was an ill-fated Bond girl in Moonraker, and Alberto de Mendoza.
Was he doing the striptease?
I'm going to leave that one alone. But before we get to the final act of Gunman of Ave Maria, I do want to say one last thing about this cast and how this movie is pretty well known as a fine example of a spaghetti western. For each of the actors I talked about, with the only exception being Luciana Paluzzi, all the other actors' images on Wikipedia come directly from this film. It's a movie of some notoriety, and these actors all had a decent career in which this was a highlight. So with that, let's get into the final part of Gunman from Ave Maria, where all that family drama and past scars will come crashing down on our cast.
Alto! You two ride to Oaxaca and warn Senor Thomas. Vaya! Vámonos!
Right, Miguel.
I don't like to use violence, but it was the only way I could get to speak to you. You can't stay in Oaxaca.
Why not?
For years, your presence here has poisoned my life with your mother. It's gone far enough.
You can kill me for all I care. It cannot gain you the love of my mother. There have been and there are men besides you. And there will be always. As long as she can put up with those awful animals she attracts. Because my mother has no virtue. She's become addicted to her desires. It was nothing more than lust that made her your accomplice. You are just blind to the truth.
Buenas tardes, senores. This way you are welcome. Pasa, pasa. I give you a nice quiet room, huh?
Bienvenido,
This is my
señor.
granddaughter. It is a nice quiet room. This way, senor.
Move.
You will not be disturbed in here.
Over on the bed. Go on, eh?
We want some wine, and have the girl bring it and close up for the night. Is something not right, viejo?
No, nothing, senor.
Then stop the silly gawking.
Si, senor. I'll do it. Some wine and close up for the night. Melina. Hey, want some wine? You take it to them, eh? Hey, it is time to close. Off you go. Hurry. Come, Miguel, Paco. We're closing. Didn't you hear? Go home. Senor, go home now, por favor.
Hey, old man, get us something to eat, too, eh?
Senor, you can take the bottle, but please go home now.
What is that man doing here?
He must be drunk. Come on, senor, it is late.
I'm not finished, old man.
I see.
Hey, what is that? Okay.
¡Qué buena! ¡Ramapao!
Very nice, senor. Come back inside.
Hey, Raphael, she's full of fun, huh? I will save her for you.
Don't touch me!
Hey, Pedro, not yet, huh? How long's it been, Nino, huh? Put her on the bed. You want her? It's a present. See, I almost forgot. This man is no man at all. He has a little defect. Already I have made you regret you were born a man. All that remains to boast of is your muscles. But now that is not for long. Bastardos! You will be happy with me. I am a real man, Chiquita. If you have a God, then pray he doesn't let you meet up with me another time. If not, that time will be the last.
Senora, I would like to go along with you.
I can take care of my daughter myself.
Ignacio! Give me a bottle of tequila. Hurry up, hombre. I get my usual bottle. I said hurry up. Wait a moment. I need 2 bottles, not 1.
You're too late, old man. We're all closed up this afternoon.
Are you sure it is late? In the plaza, the sun is up, which means it is early. Senor?
I said it's late.
Maybe it is the moon. We'll have to go take a closer look. Ignacio, you're too late. You are all closed up because the sun is really the moon. That is what your new assistant said.
Come back later, Paco.
See, hey, it is already later.
Senor, what can I do for you?
I'm a friend of Raphael's. Where's Isabella?
Let's go in the back.
Anna, I didn't expect you. Why didn't you let me know you were coming?
Where is Isabella?
Isabella? Why don't we go inside? We have many things we have to talk about. Calmly.
I asked you where she was, Thomas.
Hey, you!
Capataz, bring the girl here.
Say.
That's enough for today. Send them away.
You heard the patron. Vamos.
Stop it, Luis.
If you didn't do that, nobody would pay.
Ola Thomas, I've been resting. Excuse me for looking so terrible for you, but I was so very tired. You won't let me alone again, will you?
It isn't what you think. It isn't true, so help me, it isn't true. She's made all this up. I've never touched her. For God's sake, Anna, believe me.
Get after the little slut. I want her. Go on now. Get after her. Go!
Come here. Come here.
Who are you?
I'm a friend of Raphael's.
I made you a promise once. I kept it. Your brother's near the gravestone.
Sebastian. You will help me to catch his murderers. I was there on the night they killed him. Revenge must be taken.
Isabella.
It was Mother and Thomas who killed him. Swear you killed him, Sebastian. Swear.
Does he still bother you, Anna?
In it are 5,000 pesos. And the papers to the hacienda in your name. It's the price I'm offering for your silence. Now get out. Get out of my house.
Senor Tomas, Senor Ignacio would like to speak to the senora.
Then let him in.
I don't want to see anyone.
What do you want?
Forgive me. Excellency, in town there is a man talking of Sebastian, the son of General Carrasco.
Don't be a fool, Ignacio. Everybody knows that Sebastian is dead.
I have spoken with him, Excellency, and I am convinced that he is telling the truth.
Where is this man?
At my house?
He's haunted me too long. Go, Sebastian.
He has bad news of Sebastian.
So you're the stranger?
Yeah.
Well, then speak up.
Well, I had a friend who said he was the son of a very famous general. And when he was sad, he spoke of this house. He spoke of you, ma'am. He said you were his mother.
Where is your friend now? What is his name?
He's dead. His name was Sebastian.
All right, stranger. We thank you for the news. Come back tomorrow and I'll pay you for your trouble.
Just a minute.
Do you remember this?
You don't recognize it? Was this your idea? Leave her alone.
Sebastian! He killed your father! Yes, I saw him do it! He's the one!
Hold it! Stay there! Raphael! Don't kill him!
Don't, Sebastian. Don't go near her. I saw it happen. I watched you that night. He was bleeding from where Thomas had stabbed him. He called out for you, Sebastian, and she shot him. You tell him the truth. I saw it. You know it's the truth. Tell him, Mother. Tell the truth.
I beg you. Don't call me that.
Stop this lying. The same blood's in my body, the same blood's in yours. Mother, can't you stop lying and tell the truth? Oh, Mother. Mother.
Forgive me, Isabella. And you too, Sebastian. I am not your mother.
No. It isn't true, is it, Mother? You are our mother. Tell me it isn't true. Tell me.
Listen, don't shoot me. That's stupid. You let me go and you'll be a very rich man. You'll have quite a story to tell.
What story?
The story of Ana Carrasco. She wasn't the mother of Sebastian and Isabella. Ana couldn't have any children, Raphael. Believe me. Believe me. Oh. The real mother was a servant who died giving birth to Sebastian.
Thomas!
Isabella!
And so Sebastian and Isabella get their revenge on Anna for being involved in their father's death, and it would seem Isabella will be reunited with Raphael, and the place burns to the ground where our trio of heroes will now start a new life on their own.
What was all that about Anna not really being their mother?
I don't know, it beats me. Kind of came out of left field, huh?
That's one way to put it.
Anyway, personally, I do think this is a fairly interesting movie. In fact, I'd even put it down as a pretty good film. Sure, there is that whole thing about Anna not being their real mother and how it doesn't really seem like Raphael and Sebastian are not that far away physically in terms of where Anna and Tomas are, so how is it so hard for them to be taken off the board? But I don't know, I chalk that more up to being that this is an Italian film than anything. There's nothing more Italian than suddenly dropping in some last act drama that is kind of inexplicable to make things more exciting.
Personally, I also thought this movie was pretty good. I felt the movie was generally well thought out, even if there were some things kind of tossed into the pot to stir things up. Still, it felt well produced and had a decent amount of detail and character development. I liked the set design, and it really did look and feel like the movie was set in Mexican California.
Oh, I'd agree for sure. It definitely felt Southwestern at the very least.
I will say that I do wonder about the actual skin tone of the actors. Anna was super white, but the men in this do kind of look like that chick from My Strange Addiction who was addicted to tanning beds. Still, I'd give this movie 4 poops out of 5. Sure, I was into Tomas, but I was hoping for more from the movie after seeing this poster. Look at that hunky slab of man meat.
Oh, well, hello there, Miss Nurse.
Hi, sexy poster man.
Do you mind if I hitched my horse here for a bit? I would very much like to find a watering hole. Would you know a good place to get a glass of whiskey?
Why, sexy poster man, I have some ideas.
Oh, then lead the way there, pretty lady.
Geoff? I'll be back later.
Where are you going?
Definitely not going to make out with this poster and this guy's well-toned pecs and, washboard abs.
Okie dokie, well, whatever. I do get a little bit of a vibe from this movie that reminds me of 1998's The Mask of Zorro, starring Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Anthony Hopkins. You know what I mean, Nurse? Anyway, in that Zorro movie, you have a scenario in which Anthony Hopkins' rival tries to get Zorro by arresting him in order to get to his wife. And after Zorro's thrown in jail, you then have the rival wooing Hopkins' wife, and they have a daughter that Hopkins tries to win back and teams up with Banderas as the new Zorro, who will win her hand. Now, obviously, it's not the exact same setup, although I think this probably goes back to a lot of other themes from classic literature, but it does have that element of familial drama where, and we have this whole dynamic of 2 guys and a woman who are dealing with a pair of baddies. Again, not a complete one-to-one comparison, but I was consistently reminded of that Zorro movie that I dearly love. Anyway, what do you say, Nurse? Should we wrap things up? Where'd she go? Oh, yeah, I mean, that was a pretty steamy hunk of man meat on that poster. I totally get it. Anyway, bye, everyone.